Welcome to the Bubble Podcast. I'm Robert Sadler and I am live here from Orlando, Florida. Today we're going to be talking about the awards in the NBA. They were just released yesterday. Also, there's no one in my room. I can take that off. Thank you. The MVP award was announced around 3 afternoon yesterday, right before the Lakers Nuggets game. Don't know if that's, coincidental, but Giannis ran away with the MVP, and based on his regular season numbers, it makes sense he dominated the regular season. My problem with this is it should not be a regular season award. It should culminate the entire season. I do not care if Giannis had 45, 18, and 12 against the Knicks. That's basically playing a JV team. Because you see, in the last 2 years, when he's been in the playoffs, teams have built a wall. Lengthy teams have built a wall, and they are not letting him do what he does best, and his teams have gotten bounced. Against the Raptors, he had a 2-0 lead, lost 4 straight. Against the Heat, they were down 3-0. In the only game they won, he left in the middle of the game, and Chris Middleton led them to victory. Now that brings me to the guy who finished second in MVP, who's finished top 5 in the last 14 years every single time, except last year when he was injured, LeBron James. This guy only got 16 out of 101 votes. I'm not sure who votes on these awards, but I think it should be more. I think the players should be able to vote more than just the media because they know they play against these guys, they play against the teams, they know who has more value. LeBron leaves his team, they're in the lottery almost every year if he leaves that team. Now, he's on the team, and you can tell he's the best player on the court every single night, even at age 35. And Giannis is one of the few players where, if you notice, the rest of the NBA doesn't want him to be MVP. You've had people like Dame and Kuzma. Obviously, Kuzma's going to stick up for LeBron, their teammates. McCollum, all those guys are saying that the NBA is crazy for calling Giannis the MVP and that it should be LeBron. And I agree because that Laker team went from not being in the playoffs, and obviously they added AD. Even he could make more of an MVP argument than Giannis. He's averaging 30 something in these playoffs, and Giannis is still bounced. He got bounced by the Heat, who are a great team, don't get me wrong. But Giannis shows year in and year out when it's in the playoffs, he's not the MVP. That's why I think MVP should be based on playoffs. Now, the other awards that have been announced were the All NBA teams. First team was Harden, Luka, Giannis, Bron, and AD. Second team was Dame, CP3, Kawhi Leonard, Pascal Siakam, and Nikola Jokic. Third team was Ben Simmons, Russell Westbrook, Jason Tatum, Jimmy Butler, and Rudy Gobert. I have no problem with the first team. Luka Doncic is the youngest player to ever make NBA first team. He's got a lot of hype. He's good. He can get better, but he's really good. I have no problem with the first team. I don't really have a problem with the second team either. I thought Jokic was going to be the dark horse MVP for this season, but he didn't really have an amazing regular season. But in the bubble and in the postseason, he has shown he's definitely one or two for big man in the league. CP3, the Rockets team had a 0.2% chance of making the playoffs this year, and it was his leadership, not necessarily his numbers, but his leadership that made the team. And I'm glad that the voters realize that's not all about numbers. However, it is about numbers. The third team has Rudy Gobert, Jimmy Butler. Now, I know those guys impact the game immensely on the defensive end. What does Rudy Gobert do besides play defense and rebound? He maybe gets some lobs, maybe get some offensive putbacks. Why is he on the All-NBA third team for the second year in a row just because he's 7 feet tall and can protect the rim? That doesn't make sense. Jimmy Butler has this Heat team looking like they could actually win a championship. So he deserves his recognition. I understand that. But his numbers are not what Bradley Beal is doing. Bradley Beal averaged 30 points and 6 assists. He is the first person in NBA history to average over 30 with 6 assists and not make an All-NBA team. I know the Wizards are trash. Okay, I understand that. They don't win. They didn't even win. They might have won one game in the bubble. I don't even know if Bradley Beal came to the bubble. They were non-existent. But his numbers don't lie. How is he not one of the top 15 players when he's second in the league in scoring? Russell Westbrook, he's padding. He averaged 27, 7, and 7, right? That looks really good. But he's not efficient. He doesn't shoot the ball well. And once again, in the playoffs, he was a non-factor. The Lakers left him on the 3-point line the entire series, kind of like what teams used to do to Rondo. And the Rockets tried to do that to Rondo, but even Rondo was hitting more jumpers than Russell Westbrook. I just don't know with the NBA awards. I'm not really sure what the criteria fits because for sometimes it's about numbers, right? Because Luka's putting up amazing numbers, Giannis, all them, they're putting up amazing numbers. But then sometimes it's not because CP3 makes a team and his numbers are nowhere near the rest of the people on the list. Also, how do they determine who's second and third team? Because Pascal averaged 23, 7, and 3. That's really good. Tatum also averaged 23, 7, and 3. So why is one of them on the second team and one's on the third team? And once again, in the playoffs, Pascal was awful against the Celtics. Jaylen Brown had him in a seatbelt, in a children's back seat with the seatbelt on. Jaylen Brown, a guard, was locking up a forward the entire series. Does that mean he should be on the All-NBA team? I mean, I don't like regular season awards because they're putting so much importance on the regular season, which it is important, but the most valuable moments, the biggest moments of the year come in the playoffs. So I guess I understand if they wanted to make it a whole playoff award, Bradley Beal wouldn't be on it anyway because they didn't make the playoffs. But they got to do something because there's always guys each year who are egregiously snubbed every single year. And they never really get it right. And I don't know if, trying to name the top 15 people, I don't think Rudy Gobert is the top 15 player in the league. I'm not sure Pascal Siakam's a top 15 player in the league. And they try to make it by position. I think they should just make a position list. That's my next point. They need to make all teams positionless because the basketball has evolved to a point now where you're not really playing center if you can't shoot. You're a liability. Hassan Whiteside gets subbed out when he plays teams that are going 5 out because he's not going to guard the 3-point line. All he uses is a rim protector, but no one's coming in the paint. So, and if they do, he's going over there. Now his guy's wide open. So he becomes a liability. And Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee played not many minutes at all against the Rockets because the Rockets don't have any centers. So it was just AD getting all those minutes. And the Lakers went to Markieff Morris and all that. So basketball's already transitioning to positionless. So they shouldn't even worry about putting positions on the All-NBA teams. They should just name the top 15. So 5 first, 5 second, 5 third. Doesn't matter what position. You cannot tell me Rudy Gobert is a top 15 player in the league just because he stands up there and does this. The best defense he played this year was probably locking down the NBA with his coronavirus antics. For real. Because Jokic averaged 26 on him. I understand Jokic is an amazing player, but you're supposed to be the 2-time defensive player of the year. You're on the All-NBA defensive team, which I'm going to get to in a second. And you're on the All-NBA third team. Why is Jokic killing you night in and night out? You're more athletic than him. You're probably about the same strength. You're longer than him. And your team is a great defensive team too. So you have other guys around you that can help. Why was Jokic murdering you every single night? I don't know. But since we're on the topic of defense, we're going to the all-defensive teams. Only 2 all-defensive teams as opposed to the 3 all-NBA teams. They should give more guys recognition because I love defense. Defense wins championships when you have those guys that play defense, which is mostly really effort. I don't understand how you can't play defense in the NBA because your whole life in basketball, you're playing offense and you're playing defense. So to only choose to do one, it's kind of asinine to me. But anyway, the all-defensive teams go. First team, Rudy Gobert, Giannis, the defensive player of the year. Again, just from blocking shots and making amazing plays because it's not like he can just stay in front of everybody. AD, Marcus Smart, and Ben Simmons. The three picks I really, well, I mean, I understand why those guys got there, but the ones I really like, Marcus Smart. I think he's the best defending guard in the league. Um, I don't know if it's a Celtics team because Avery Bradley was also regarded as one of the best defending guards when he was on the Celtics, and he's not like that anymore. But Marcus Smart goes out there, and every night he is the leader of that team defensively. He will take charges. I don't like that he flops. I don't like that the best defensive players also flop and get the most calls. But he'll take charges. He'll lock up any position. I mean, even centers, he gives them problems because they're going against smaller guys, so just rip them. And he just plays so hard. Ben Simmons was crazy on defense this year. Absolutely insane. Do I think he should have been on the All NBA team? Probably not, but his defense speaks for itself. He was leading the league in steals for a while. Of course, James Harden ended up winning it, and James Harden led the league in steals, and he's not on the list. Obviously, he doesn't stay in front as much as some of these guys, but if you reward block shots so much with Rudy Gobert and Giannis, why aren't you rewarding steals with James Harden? I don't understand. AD, I think the eye test for him is ridiculous. I've seen him in the against the Rockets, against the Blazers, now against the Nuggets last night. When guys switch and he's guarding a guard, he can still guard them. I mean, Jamal Murray is crazy, so he's cooking everybody. He's cooking Kawhi and Paul George and all that stuff. But when it comes to the regular guards, you're not going to get by him. He was destroying Russell Westbrook, stayed in front of him the entire time, and his mobility and his lateral quickness is why I think he should have been the defensive player of the year and not Giannis. Now, to the second team all defense, I love the second team all defense except for the last pick. Brook Lopez, underrated, great rim protector. Maybe a better rim protector than Gobert, at least on 2K, because on 2K, Brook Lopez is amazing. Then you got Kawhi, who I think is the best defensive perimeter defender in the league by far. There's never a double team when he's guarding someone. Doesn't matter who the star is. He's just playing amazing on defense. Bam Adebayo, that is a team defender right there. Now, he played great team defense, but Bam Adebayo is incredible. His length, his athleticism, and his IQ is what makes him be one of the top guys in this league. And then you saw the other night, Tatum, clutch time, going for a dunk. Bam, without even touching him, gets an amazing block to save the game. And it's those type of plays you might not see from some of these other guys. Eric Bledsoe. By the way, the Bucks had 3 all-defensive players, and the Heat were torching them. Besides the point. But Eric Bledsoe, I think he's a great defensive guard. He's like 6'5", maybe, but his wingspan's like 6'10" as a guard. That's absolutely insane. You can't teach that. And the last pick, Patrick Beverley. I'm not a fan of Patrick Beverley. I think he flops an incredible amount, just like Marcus Smart. I think Marcus Smart is what Patrick Beverley thinks he is. Pat Bev is 36th in defensive win shares. How are you in the top 10 in defense and your defensive win shares is that low? He's not in the top 10 in defensive rating either. He's like 13th. So I just don't understand what he did to brainwash the media, but he is not that great of a defender. I mean, he's good at stripping people when they go up for shots. You know, he'll slap the ball out. That's what he's good at. But he's not just locking up people. Dame gives him 30. All the best guards in the league never have a problem with him. He locks up the guys who are barely starters. Like, he'll lock up Alex Caruso and think he's doing something. Like, no, you're not that good. Even Russell Westbrook said he just runs around and just be doing nothing. So I just don't think Patrick Beverley deserves to be on that list. Who do I put in? I think Paul George year in, year out is a pretty solid defender. But there's just the awards just don't do it justice because you got people like Jonathan Isaac who was leading the league in blocks and then he gets hurt. You know, and he probably would have been on an all-defensive team, and that probably would have kicked out some of these other guys. I like how the NBA likes to give recognition to different people, or sometimes to the same people, but not with LeBron for MVP. But they don't really get it right. You know, LeBron is the MVP every single season. Obviously, he can't win it every year, but it's not like this is the first time they've done this. When Kobe was playing, Steve Nash won 2 MVPs. Dirk won an MVP. Those guys are not more valuable than Kobe Bryant. So my takeaway from the awards is it needs to be a culmination of regular season and postseason, and it cannot be just voted on by the media. It's got to be voted on by the players. The players play against these guys. What can Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharpe and Stephen A. What can they say about how a player plays when the players are going up against that player? Like these guys come in and they know LeBron is the best player on the court every time. Giannis tried to crown himself earlier. But these guys know that the best player is LeBron, and you have all these media and all this saying, "Oh, Kawhi, KD, all that." But why do the players' opinions not really matter when it comes to the awards? The players' opinions matter for everything else, but when it's the awards, it's the media. How can the media know more about playing against the guy than the guys who go up against them? That's basically all I have for today. It's a quick little rant about the NBA awards. I'm a Wizards fan. Bradley Beal got robbed of. He wasn't an All Star, wasn't All NBA. I understand how guys get frustrated because you got people who can't even shoot a jump shot making All NBA teams. I don't know. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. Rudy Gobert is wildly overrated. Wildly overrated. You can block shots, congrats, but you're not a top 15 player in the league. Pat Bev, wildly overrated. Ben Simmons, underrated on defense. I'm glad he got the first team all defense because people didn't realize how good of a defender he actually is. But his offense, not that great. So, I don't really know how they choose these teams. I just wish there's going to be a change and hopefully, Twitter's had some outbreaks saying it should be playoffs because people are starting to realize the MVP, it's getting not being an MVP in the playoffs anymore. It's just they just get bounced. So I think people are starting to realize that, and I think people are trying to push for the way these voting, not only voting in the real world, but voting in the basketball world when it comes to the awards. They're trying to change how it's done. Hopefully they can. But that is all from the Orlando bubble today. We got Celtics Heat Game 3. If Heat go up 3-0, the Celtics are going to be in trouble. I guess we'll see. Bye.